Hi everyone, it's Tuesday afternoon, the 24th of September. In 2 days we have our first Food for Thought kickoff event. Paul Chin will be speaking to us about his trip through Turkey and visiting the 7 churches that are mentioned in Revelation. Some really good material there, awesome pictures to see, and a lot of great historical and biblical things to look at and to consider. So I hope you'll make it. If you haven't registered yet, you can still do so online, or you can just show up. It's going to cost $5 for the soup lunch that we have. If you don't have that $5, not a problem. Still come anyway. All right. Today I'd like to focus a little bit on a bit of an encouragement from Hebrews chapter 10, verses 32 to 36. And it says this: "Think back on those early days when you first learned about Christ. Remember how you remained faithful even though it meant terrible suffering? Sometimes you were exposed to public ridicule and were beaten, and sometimes you helped others who were suffering the same things. You suffered along with those who were thrown into jail. And when all you owned was taken from you, you accepted it with joy. You knew that there were better things waiting for you that will last forever. So don't throw away this confident trust in the Lord. Remember the great reward it brings you. Patient endurance is what you need now, so that you will continue to do God's will. Then you will receive all that He has promised." Now I know that none of us have experienced that kind of suffering, at least not in the last number of years. Maybe some of you who grew up during the war times, experienced some of that kind of suffering. But for most of us, our last 30, 40 years have definitely not been hugely related to suffering. But I think what he's saying here is, remember how God has always helped you in the past. Now, for most of us, it may not have been suffering in the way that he's talking about here, as far as punishment or imprisonment and stuff like that because of what we believe. But rather, there has been suffering because of perhaps of health, or situations in families that there's been family breakups, or challenges with our children or our grandchildren, which have caused us a certain amount of suffering as well. And yet, as we prayed and as we called out to God, we found God not only comforting us, but oftentimes helping to alleviate the way in front of us. So he's saying, remember how God has helped you in those early days, and keep on trusting in the Lord, because trusting in the Lord brings great reward with it. Patient endurance is what we need now, as he says, and isn't that the truth? We need to continue to endure. And patience has its own reward, because sometimes when we are patiently waiting, those things that we thought were important before somehow just slip away in importance, because what we're really waiting for is not the good or the better, but we're waiting for the best that God has to do in our lives. I hope this is an encouragement for you today. God bless you. Praying for you.